Hi and welcome. And just to let you know, this as I'm recording this video, I'm recording this from Houston, Texas. And one of the key reasons why we need to make this a stop is because we really want to visit the Space Center at Houston, because we believe that even after all these years, space travel is still something that it's fascinating, and if not, it kind of really, brings the imagination to a whole new level. And what was interesting this time around when we visited the Space Center was that we actually managed to attend this talk by an astronaut. And what's even more interesting was that my son get to ask him a question, and the question that he asked him was how young, or how old must you be before you can be selected as an astronaut, which obviously was something that was on his mind. Now, so coming back to this, as many of you know, I have been a consultant for schools in Singapore for the last 14 years. And what I do basically is I help schools with their systems and management, as well as strategic planning. And so one of the key things that I have picked up over the years is that what are some skills that children must have, especially to compete effectively in this 21st century environment. And so when I look at, during all my conversations with teachers in Singapore, I think I pick up 5 key skills that children should have. And these are the 5 key skills that I've been teaching my own children. What are these 5 key skills? I'll come to that in a minute, but essentially these skills are not math skills. These skills are not like typing skills, for example. These are what I call skills that kind of cuts across. In a way, we call them portable skills, because once you have this skill, whether you apply it in different contexts, these skills are still necessary. So without further ado, let's dive into what these 5 skills are. So the first skill basically is the skill of being observant. Now, I chose the term of being observant and not just aware, because to be aware, it's that you are aware of your surrounding, but you may be aware of your surrounding, but until you are observant, you may not still pick up some of these things that most people miss. So for example, as you're walking down the street, you are aware that there are cars going around. But until you observe, what type of cars, or what colors are the cars, for example, you may not be able to relate to someone who asks you, so what did you see? So I picked the term observant, being observant as a level above awareness. So being observant means that I want my children to be when they're going out, they are really looking at things, and they are being observant. So I think one of the key benefits with travel is that every time when we go to a new place, that's it, it's a new place. And because it's a new place, you kind of tend to look at it through the eyes of a visitor or a tourist, and you would pick up things that people who have lived here for some time would have missed. So a very good example is that where we stay in Singapore, there are so many things out there, but sometimes we kind of miss the thing that it would take someone who is a visitor who would come by and he would tell us, oh, I saw this at this place, and we were, oh really? I've been staying there for the whole time, and I didn't observe that, for example. So the first skill is being observant. I want them to be able to develop this skill because once you're able to observe what other people are not able to observe, the other people are not aware, let alone observe, you have one up. So for example, as an entrepreneur, one of the key skills really is observation skills. We are looking at what people are doing or what people are not doing, and through those observations, that is where we kind of find, what are some problems that people face, what are some pain points that people have, and how we can kind of provide that solution for them. So the first skill is, being observant. Yeah. Now, then I thought about it and I say that, well, you can be observant, but unless you have this second skill, being observant may not mean anything. So I may observe and say that, wow, I see the trees are growing faster, or the trees, the leaves are falling, at this time of the year, which they are not. I may observe that, but I may just let it go. So the second skill is questioning skill. I want them to not just observe, but I want them to question. So for example, a thinking routine that comes to mind is that they would go on to this process of I see, I think, I wonder. So the wonder part is where they question. So they say, why is it like that? How come it is like this? Or why must it be this way? And I think this is something that we as adults sometimes we don't do enough of, because we kind of accept that this is the norm or this is the status quo. And that status quo itself sometimes blinds us from seeing things that are otherwise later on become so obvious. So for example, I remember many years back when the banks were kind of competing for the business, one of the banks actually went out and made this proposal of converting, the transit card that we use to pay for our commute, have it linked to a credit card. And when that idea was being publicized, it became so obvious. It became like, oh yeah, it's something that it should have been there in the first place. But unless you question it, you may just observe it and let it go at that. So the first skill is being observant. The second skill is really questioning skill. Now the third skill, the fourth skill, the fifth skill is something that it's really critical, because this is where, it kind of separates the good from the better and the better from the best. So for example, after you have observed something and you say that, okay, I observed that there are more and more people on Facebook using Facebook to kind of, look for solutions to their problem. So like for example, in Facebook group, I see more and more people asking about a certain thing. I see people asking about social media marketing. I see people asking about help with WordPress, for example. And then the next thing is I would ask, what's with that? And what's with that could be, could it be that more people are now aware of how to use, a platform like WordPress, or now people are more aware that, social media marketing is not a good to have, it's a must have, for example. So those become my hypothesis. Now, once I have those hypotheses, the next thing I need to do is I really need to collect data. Yeah, I need to collect data, I need to do my research, and so the third skill really is that research skill. Now that research skill, sometimes it can be trained, sometimes it's something that it's intuitively, you kind of come up with that. So for example, once I have observed and I ask those questions, I have an hypothesis, I need to collect data to kind of validate or nullify my hypothesis. And once I have collected the data, I need to analyze the data, which is the fourth skill that needs to be there. And then the fifth and final skill really is about, creative thinking. So this is where I have observed something, I've asked a question, I have collected data, I've done my research, so research skills. Number 4 is I've done my analysis of my data, so that's an analytical skills. And then the 5th one really is that creative thinking skill. Now the creative thinking skill is really about, coming up with creative ideas to say, how can we do this, how can we do that? Yeah. So in summary, the 5 skills are observation skill, questioning skills, research skills, data analysis skills, and creative thinking skills. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.